So the 85th percentile speed is basically the speed at which 85% of the drivers would drive without any sort of signage or enforcement on the roadway. It's what their natural inclination is for the speed that they feel is appropriate for the conditions that they're in. And so what we do is we come out and we'll put a counter of some sorts and determine what that 85th percentile speed is. And that way it enables law enforcement to target their enforcement to 15% of the population rather than having to write a huge amount of tickets, and also creating an unsafe condition where you have a lot of speed differential. If you have an artificially low speed limit, what happens is some people will follow the speed limit because they want to obey the law. Others will drive how comfortable they feel on the roadway. And whenever you get a difference in speed like that, it's when it creates a lot of friction on the traffic and we see an increase in our accidents. First off, we do an initial accident investigation for the corridor, and then we examine whether or not the geometry of the roadway can handle the increase in the speed. And then what we'll do is we'll reach out to our counterparts at the state police and basically ask their opinion. This is what we're seeing, this is what we're thinking about doing, and what is your what's the impact to you guys? They don't want to write a whole bunch of tickets, believe it or not. They're more comfortable targeting to their enforcement to the folks that are really causing a hazardous condition on the highways. And those are the people that are outside that 85th percentile of driving. Well, a speed limit basically enables a driver, especially unfamiliar with the area, to get an initial assessment of how fast the roadway conditions under ideal conditions, and we're not talking inclement weather, they should be able to drive at. Of course, that doesn't supersede the judgment of the driver as far as other roadway conditions that they may perceive that they should slow down for. And it also gives law enforcement an initial assessment of if they know that we set the speed by the 85th percentile, they know that the speed is appropriate, so those folks outside of that range really are causing a hazard to the other drivers. If people's natural inclination isn't to drive that speed, a majority will break the law, believe it or not. But there will be certain people that will not speed just because they don't want to break the law, and you'll get a big amount of difference in the speed that traffic's going. And you'll see that in a lot of locations where we have people that really rush their passing maneuvers. They get very impatient. We see a lot of increase in road rage incidences in those areas. And law enforcement really doesn't want to have to kind of mind those areas and write a whole lot of tickets. In fact, it's one of the indicators. If law enforcement is writing a whole lot of tickets, then generally they'll reach out to us to go out and do a speed study and see if it is an appropriate speed for that area. So throughout the state, we use the traffic manual to determine that the 85th percentile speed is the speed that we'll use for speed studies. And then the MUTCD, the Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices, allows us a 5 mph leeway either way of the 85th percentile, and that's based on either roadway conditions such as the shoulder widths, lane widths, signalization, or pedestrian activity or urbanization that we can look at. And then we also examine the accident history, and we have a database of accident history for all the highways in the state of Idaho. And it's actually populated by law enforcement. So we get all the same information, and we share information a lot with all the different agencies throughout the state. Yep.